Howdy, howdy. You might notice that you're looking at a black background right now, and that's because, given the fact that I'm still recovering from a surgery and thus have a large, unsightly bandage taped around my ear, my camera is off. So instead, we're getting this guy. Hello. it's it's so stupid. I just wanted to give an important update with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. But do I have to bounce him the whole time I talk? So basically, as we all know, thanks to consistent support from Western powers, Ukraine has done remarkably well in its resistance against Russian occupation. The most notable victory being the apparent total rejection of Russian forces from Kiev. The original plan, it seems, was for Russia to cut Ukraine off at the head, to invade Kiev, to seize it, to capture it, kill or imprison Zelensky, force him to sign a treaty of surrender, however they wanted to play it out. They wanted Kiev, and they failed. The convoys, kilometers long, of armored vehicles outside Kiev have been broken and scattered, and the territories in the northern Ukrainian regions, once controlled by Russian troops, have, if they haven't been reconquered by Ukraine, they have at very least been, largely dispersed. But we're entering a new phase of the conflict. If the original phase was governed by Russia's desire to quickly end the conflict in a few days by cutting off Kiev, cutting off the head, the new nature of the conflict, it seems, is going to be, I don't know, the inhalation of weapons-grade copium. Basically, it seems like they want to carve out a concession. So you see these blue areas right here near Kiev where Ukraine has launched a counteroffensive. As of 4 hours ago, President Zelensky has claimed that Russia's push for Donbass has begun. If you remember, the fake reason Russia gave to begin this war was that they recognized the independent people's republics of Luhansk and Donetsk over here in the Donbass region, which were being subjected to Ukrainian oppression and blah, blah. They recognize their independence. They're going to liberate them, yada, yada. So parts of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions, I'll just say the Donbass region because that applies sort of collectively to both of them. Parts of it have been under Russian control for nearly a decade, but a good portion of it hasn't been. And the line of conflict in the Donbass since the war began has remained fairly stable because Ukraine already had a fairly well-fortified military, station there. But it looks like now that Mariupol, which has been sort of the centerpiece of the fighting for the past couple of days, is very nearly fallen to Russia, it looks like that opens Russia to fight more in the east, and they're going to attempt to claim the rest of the Donbass region. So we have here, of course, the live UA map, very useful to us. Mariupol right here has a very, very, very small area, which is not currently claimed to be under Russian control. The rest of the city has fallen. Mariupol will fall. I don't see any other way for this to go down. And with the conquering of Mariupol, Russia has one of its major strategic goals following the invasion, a very secure land route to Crimea, right over here, which they, of course, have controlled since 2014. Mariupol was the last major obstacle in this unbroken land route that they could use to get resources down to Crimea without having to, deal with ocean transport and Turkey and crossing the sea here has been a logistical difficulty for the already infrastructure-starved Crimean Peninsula, so they're looking to secure a land bridge. Fair enough. Well, it's not fair, of course. It makes sense from Russia's perspective. But given the fact that their initial pretense here was the liberation of the Donbass region, my guess is that they're redoubling their efforts right now to secure the other of the two big things they wanted out of this conflict, which is independence for the Donbass region. My guess is that they're going to reconcentrate their efforts here in the east and launch forward with a massive surge that will attempt to break through Ukrainian lines, secure the entirety of the Donbass, or more if they can get it, and then say they have successfully reconquered and liberated the Donbass region, and then push for a broader diplomatic recognition of its independence, or at least push for a great degree of autonomy for the Donbass region from Ukraine. I don't know whether or not they're going to succeed in that venture. Ukraine has done admirably so far, but it is important to remember that Russia is capable of fielding a much, much larger army with a much larger, just range of armored equipment. And this is an area where they have a pretty defensible line of operation as well, because Russia has effectively held this territory since 2014. The conflict is going to really start heating up here, I think, especially after Mariupol officially falls, at which point Russian forces here will be free to move north, and Russia will no longer have to logistically coordinate defending itself on multiple fronts from the pushback from Mariupol and the push towards the east from the parts of the Donbass region not yet controlled. I understand this all sounds kind of boring and technical, but this marks a serious turnaround, I think, in the nature of the theater of this war, and also in the type of conflict that we're going to be seeing, because these attempts to snipe at Kiev, Kiev suffered tremendously as a product of Russia's invasion, don't get me wrong, but what's happening right now in Mariupol is just unrivaled, I think, in the rest of Ukraine in terms of the destruction, the refugees, the civilian casualties, reports of tens of thousands of people dead. And I think what's happening in Mariupol, is going to be the nature of this conflict. Because Russia's first attempt was, quick, easy, cut off the head, bam, done. Don't linger too long. The worse, it'll get worse the longer we're here. But now that that's not on the table for them, a long, slow, bloody, arduous march west seems like it's the most likely follow through. We'll see how effective they are. The red line you see right here is more or less where the line of conflict was before the war began, where the Russian separatist groups had already carved out the line of fire prior to Russia's official invasion. And as you can see, with only a few exceptions, like right over here, there's been very little movement on that front. We're going to see a change to that in the coming weeks, and I sincerely hope that the change is not that significant, because I want Ukraine to win, and I hope you all do too, because Russia is a fascist country that is invading for explicitly fascist reasons. Oh, an addendum. Other news. There's a report that Google Maps has stopped blurring Russia's secret military facilities. This is not true. What we see here in these photos was not blurred previously. These are just photos you could have gotten off Google Maps. Google has said they have not unblurred anything. You could have seen these at any time. If you go looking around the Google Maps in Russia and find some military stuff, you might find something funny. I think there's a couple down here that show how poorly kept their air bases are. Let me see if I can find that again. Am I even looking through the right? These are the replies? Show more replies. Yeah, I want to see more replies. Why would you think that I hate Twitter sometimes? Where's that airbase that I saw? It was super overgrown. Like it was poorly kempt. There was one particular photo I thought was funny, but anyway, it's not true. Google does not seem to have changed anything. Additionally, a recent current affairs article from Chomsky came out that I am not happy with. Interestingly, it seems other people are mad at this as well, because when you look up current affairs Chomsky Ukraine, the first post that I get, at least, is the Jerusalem Post, which is not normally a rag that I get recommended to my top. Obviously, this is very anti-Chomsky perspective. I mean, known for its anti-war, anti-capitalist, anti-Zionist takes. It's going to be quite critical, but I'm sure I am critical for different reasons. The article came out 5 days ago. I respect Chomsky for a lot of things, but I disagree strongly with his framing of this issue in a variety of ways that I'd be happy to get into more in the near future. There is an underlying premise here that is obviously true, and it is that the Western powers, the world broadly, must move to give Russia an option to end this conflict, which encourages them to do so and does not lead to nuclear war. And it has, of course, been my position that the best way to bring about both of those outcomes would be for Russia to suffer a devastating loss in Ukraine. It is my opinion that at the end of the day, the powder keg here is Putin and is Russia's government. That it is not only autocratic and oligarchical, but at this point, Putin is acting irrationally as a world leader. That his decision making is no longer governed by a kind of cold realpolitik, but that ego and like a constantly being surrounded by yes men and an improper drip feed of information are making him. I mean, you can't. I don't even think you can rely on the very basic, like, well, maybe, maybe they're our enemy, but at the least they're not going to do something mutually detrimental. Because in this case, they seem to kind of have done that. And I think that the worst thing we could do in this stage would be to give them a win, give Putin an optical out, give them an easy, W to show off on state media. They need to feel the absolute crippling consequences of this kind of old world aggression, just invading like local neighbors. God, do you really want Putin to have even more like of its border shared with NATO countries? Christ. Yeah, no, no, no. Very, very dangerous stuff. I'm hoping that discontent within Russia leads to an ousting of Putin, or at the very least a restructuring of how they handle their foreign policy, because we need to show them this does not work. A lot has happened. Russia has lost, I believe, 8 generals, one of them a lieutenant general. That's 3 stars in the Ukrainian conflict. They buried another one 2 days ago. He's fired, I believe, hundreds of intelligence officers, and some of the top military brass that have been informing the war's effort to begin with have been fired or put on house arrest. There is a culling going on at the top right now, and I'm hoping that this all leads into enough discontent that Russia is, let's say, severely disincentivized from engaging in this behavior in the future. We can only hope. Anyway, I love you all very much. I will be doing regular YouTube and stream stuff soon. Can I rotate this? Is there a rotate? I don't see a rotate, but there's probably like a tool for it somewhere. Anyway, I'll get to it when I can. I love you all very much. Please take care of yourselves. Root for the people in Ukraine, I guess.